Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into the latest updates from the Middle East, Europe, and beyond. First up, Hamas is not just sitting back, they're asking for more guarantees in the Gaza ceasefire negotiations. They want specific timelines for hostage releases, aid deliveries, and troop withdrawals, making this a complex puzzle for everyone involved. Next, in international diplomacy, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is heading to Washington to meet with President Trump. They're set to discuss key issues like Ukraine, Middle Eastern conflicts, and trade tensions, an important step in shaping future relations between the US and Germany. Finally, let's talk about the weather and politics. Federally funded hurricane forecasts are more accurate than ever, but looming budget cuts threaten to undo years of progress. Plus, a court has paused Trump's plans for federal employee layoffs, keeping thousands of jobs safe for now. Stay tuned for more details, and please continue to watch for the full stories. The Globe and Mail vividly describes how Hamas is actively engaging with the U.S. ceasefire proposal for Gaza, expressing a desire for amendments, especially concerning guarantees, hostage releases, aid delivery, and Israeli troop withdrawal. Hamas's official stance highlights their aim for a permanent ceasefire, a full Israeli withdrawal, and a steady flow of aid, with a potential exchange involving the release of 10 Israeli hostages and the bodies of 18 others in return for Palestinian prisoners. Meanwhile, Israeli officials have shown tentative approval for a temporary ceasefire, which could halt hostilities for 60 days, allowing some hostages to be released and aid to flow into Gaza amid the desperation of a population pushed to the brink of famine by a nearly 3-month blockade. The United Nations reports that aid trucks are being blocked and looted by civilians desperate for food, with a population of over 2 million facing starvation despite some aid entering Gaza. The ongoing violence, looting, and the emergence of a new Israeli-backed aid foundation complicate efforts to deliver essential supplies, as Israel continues its relentless military strikes, killing at least 60 civilians in the past day alone, according to Gaza's health ministry. The conflict's toll is staggering, with over 54,000 Gazans killed, most of them women and children, amid the chaos of war that began with Hamas's attack on Israel in October 2023, holding 58 hostages still in Gaza. CNN provides a detailed account of Hamas's response to the U.S. ceasefire plan, emphasizing their call for a permanent ceasefire, a comprehensive withdrawal from Gaza, and the facilitation of aid. Hamas's proposal involves the release of 10 Israeli hostages and 18 bodies in exchange for the release of over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners, with negotiations to commence immediately upon a 60-day truce. The plan also promises the immediate entry and distribution of humanitarian aid through channels like the United Nations and the Red Crescent. However, Hamas remains cautious, as the proposal lacks guarantees for a permanent end to the conflict or assurances that the ceasefire will be extended during ongoing negotiations. Hamas officials have expressed skepticism about the deal's terms, asserting that it does not meet their demands but indicating that discussions are ongoing. The broader context reveals a war marked by relentless Israeli strikes killing over 54,000 Gazans, ongoing hostilities, and internal struggles over aid distribution, with the situation in Gaza remaining dire amid the complex diplomatic negotiations and continued violence. Nikkei Asia reports that U.S. Steel is on the brink of a pivotal deal with Nippon Steel, but the final approval hinges on two critical hurdles. President Trump has yet to endorse the agreement, which is complicated by the need to revoke an order from President Biden that temporarily blocked the deal due to national security concerns. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, is expected to submit its recommendations by May 21, but the process remains uncertain, especially since reinvestigation by CFIUS is unprecedented. The deal also requires a comprehensive national security agreement, stipulating conditions such as maintaining U.S. headquarters, ensuring U.S. citizen majority on the board, and safeguarding jobs from overseas relocation. If negotiations falter, Nippon Steel faces a hefty termination fee of $565 million, but with the deadline approaching in June, a resolution seems imminent. Associated Press highlights a significant diplomatic milestone as German Chancellor Friedrich Merz prepares to meet President Donald Trump at the White House, marking the first face-to-face encounter since Merz assumed office. The agenda is packed with pressing issues: the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, regional stability in the Middle East, and trade tensions, especially concerning tariffs threatened by Trump against the European Union. Merz's recent efforts, including hosting Ukrainian President Zelensky in Berlin, underscore Germany's commitment to supporting Ukraine and seeking diplomatic solutions. Meanwhile, the US-EU trade relations remain tense, with Trump's tariff threats looming, but the timeline for potential resolution has been extended, offering a glimmer of hope for easing transatlantic economic strains. The Toronto Star vividly portrays the urgent crisis facing Canadian industries as a direct consequence of Donald Trump's aggressive tariff hike, which has doubled tariffs on steel and aluminum to a staggering 50%. This move, devoid of exemptions for Canada, is described as a brutal assault on Canadian jobs, threatening to shut out the nation's steel and aluminum from the U.S. market entirely. The union leader Marty Warren emphasizes the devastating impact on communities and workers, urging the Canadian government to respond decisively by deploying countermeasures, eliminating tariff exemptions, and bolstering domestic demand through infrastructure investments and incentives for local materials. The article paints a stark picture of the economic stakes, emphasizing that the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Canadians hang in the balance, and calls for immediate action to defend their interests. CNN reports on the controversial firing of Gabrielle Kucha, a staunch MAGA supporter and former Pentagon correspondent for OAN, after she publicly criticized Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's restrictions on press access at the Pentagon. Kucha's detailed account highlights her skepticism of the administration's motives, criticizing the new restrictions as a troubling shift away from transparency. Her candid reflections on social media, including her renovation of a Pentagon office into a Liberty Lounge and her concerns about the Pentagon's diminishing press briefings, underscore her belief that a free press is vital for accountability. Her abrupt dismissal, shortly after voicing her concerns, underscores the tense atmosphere surrounding pro-Trump media coverage and the Pentagon's efforts to control narratives, illustrating a broader trend of increased restrictions on journalistic access within the military complex. The Independent sheds light on the bizarre and contentious relationship between Elon Musk and the Trump administration, revealing that Musk, the billionaire tech mogul, was allegedly using drugs like ketamine, ecstasy, and mushrooms while actively supporting Trump's campaign. Trump dismisses these allegations, praising Musk as fantastic and downplaying concerns about his drug use, even as some White House officials express relief at Musk's departure from official roles due to his provocative social media presence and controversial claims, such as the debunked Social Security fraud story. The article underscores the tensions within Trump's circle, with many advisors viewing Musk's outspoken nature and unpredictable behavior as problematic, despite his influence. Musk's ongoing influence remains evident, with Trump suggesting he might continue to be involved, highlighting the complex and often contradictory dynamics at play between the billionaire entrepreneur and the political establishment. The New York Times reports that Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, allegedly used drugs such as ketamine, ecstasy, and psychedelic mushrooms during the 2024 presidential campaign while campaigning with Donald Trump. Despite these claims, Trump publicly expressed his ignorance of Musk's drug use, describing him as fantastic and stating he was not troubled by the report. Musk, who has previously admitted to using prescription ketamine for depression and smoked marijuana in 2018, dismissed questions about the allegations during a media event, criticizing the report on Russian interference in the 2016 election instead. Trump's defense of Musk highlights the billionaire's close ties to the former president, even amid rumors and reports of drug use, which Musk has not categorically denied but chose to sidestep during the Oval Office event. Yahoo US details the groundbreaking accuracy of the National Hurricane Center's 2024 forecasts, which have reached unprecedented levels thanks to decades of federally funded research. Tropical cyclone track predictions are now up to 75% more precise than those in 1990, with forecasts extending 5 days into the future matching the accuracy of one-day predictions from 2002. This progress offers vital extra time for evacuations and preparations, especially as forecasters anticipate another active Atlantic hurricane season. However, looming cuts in NOAA funding threaten to undermine these advancements, with reductions in staffing and resources jeopardizing critical components like wind tracking, hurricane reconnaissance flights, and satellite technology. The article underscores how these budget constraints could diminish the quality of storm predictions, risking more lives and property amid increasingly severe storms. BBC reports that a recent appeals court ruling has paused the mass firing of federal employees ordered by Donald Trump, halting efforts that began with an executive order in February aimed at drastically reducing the federal workforce. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the Trump administration's request to lift a court injunction, emphasizing that the president's authority does not extend to unilaterally overhauling federal agencies without congressional approval. The case, brought by federal employees' unions and local governments, challenges the legality of the sweeping staffing reductions, which were part of Trump's broader agenda to cut government spending. The White House criticized the court's decision, claiming it unjustly limits the president's powers, but the ruling stands, leaving the mass layoffs on hold as the administration considers further legal action. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.